G'day. How are we feeling? How is everyone doing today? Welcome to some more Wii U Raspberry Pi shenanigans. Sabrina Carpenter when? I hear she's doing great, you know? I hear that she's not letting the success of her bigger sister get her down. I feel like, you know, she's still trying. Been better but hanging in there? I getcha. What did I miss? There was a I thought I heard a notification earlier. Is that a... Oh, that was a membership, wasn't it? Hang on a sec. Oh, Google's making me... Oh, okay. Muratkinuksoy, thanks for the thanks for the membership. I appreciate it. I'm sure I pronounced that incorrectly, but hey, I appreciate that so very much. Did you hear AVGN won the election by a landslide? Finally! Finally! I'm glad he finally beat the irate gamer. It was a, you know, it was a close race for a while. It was looking it was looking dicey for a second, but you know what? AVGN really won. Okay. Is there a command to view the active notification sound? No, but there probably should be. It wouldn't be hard to do because it's all like linked together. But yeah, I don't think I have that as a command just yet. I also need to add more sounds. We only have 3 at the moment. And while the metal clang has been a great success, I feel like we could do with a bit more variety. Okay, so hello, welcome to the stream. It's if you weren't here for day 13, we had a bit of a breakthrough. Is Metal Clang dead? I don't think so. Shouldn't be. Shrek notification sound. That actually is a good idea. There's a lot of good Shrek lines we could throw in here. Is Metal Clang broken? Did someone try it and it didn't work? Is there stuttering? What's going on? Do the roar. Arrgh! No, I can't do a Shrek roar. I have no idea what's going on. Is my... things are doing okay. I don't know. Well, there's the Metal Clang. Hey, thanks, Katak for the, sorry if I didn't pronounce that correctly. Thanks for the Prime sub, I appreciate it. Thanks for the Metal Clang. Okay, so the document. Uh-oh. But I guess we've got a lot of viewers on the document right now. So, if you missed, it's day 15, not 14. I think it's day 14. If anything, you could argue it's day 13 because day 11 was kind of a non-day. We didn't really do anything. I had headphones in. Oof, sorry about that. Hey, Zaum Rocks, thanks for the Prime sub. I appreciate it. For 7 months, hell yeah. So, hey, Ralthazar Belmont, thanks for the membership. I appreciate that. So yeah, sorry if there's any connection issues at the moment. There shouldn't be. Well, yeah, let me know. ICQ up uh-oh would be a nostalgic sound. I don't know if I ever used ICQ. I don't know if I've even heard that sound. ICQ. Uh-oh. I've probably heard that song, that sound before, but I don't. I didn't grow up with it. Where's the? There's always "You've Got Mail." Everyone recognizes this one.
You've got mail.
Though I seem to remember I had my family had AOL for like a couple of months, and I feel like we had a different sound.
You've got mail.
Oh, that was much louder. I feel like we had like one that said "welcome" in like a, but not in that voice.
Welcome.
Yeah, I don't think we had a welcome, but it wasn't like that. It was like more. I think my recollection, I might be wrong. My recollection is it was like a female voice and it was higher quality than that. But it is also true that that was like over 20 years ago, so it could just be that I've forgotten. XP error sound. Yeah, there are a lot of good error sounds we could use. MSN gang. Yeah, I grew up with MSN for sure. Australian dubs for AOL. It could have been. It could have been. I don't remember the accent of these voices. Hang on. It could have been an Australian accented welcome. When was AOL 4 released? When does he actually start? Okay, here. I think. Is there even gonna be any sound? This is a really low quality video. Damn, I didn't hear anything. That sucks. What about this? No, this is just using it. I don't know. Yeah, maybe you might be right. It might be an Australian dub of some kind. I don't remember. Anyway, so last stream, if you reversed taskbar, was it? I wasn't paying attention. Hang on. Oh, it is a reverse taskbar. I didn't even know that was a thing you could do. I mean, I guess that doesn't surprise me as a thing you can do, but I had no idea. Interesting. Australia isn't just upside down, it's also back to front. Okay, so if you weren't here last stream, we spent like almost 8 hours straight on writing custom H.264 parameters to convince the decoder on the Raspberry Pi that this is a live stream and it needed to be presented as quickly as possible. It turns out, against my testing of the day before, I suppose, the latency seems to have been entirely, or almost entirely, a decoding issue. I did test right to left locales. Yeah, I mean, I know those exist, but like, I didn't expect the taskbar to be affected by that. I didn't expect that to also mean the start button is on the right. I guess it makes sense though. Was it the AOL UK sounds a high quality and feminine voice? That sounds like what I would remember.
Welcome.
Welcome to AOL.
You've got mail.
You have email.
File's done.
Your file has been transferred.
It doesn't... It could be. I'm like 50-50 on whether that was... It sounds closer to what I remember. I'm not sure if that's exactly what I remember or not. But that's interesting. I mean, that... At least we know that... we know definitively that there were dubs for certain regions. It's quite possible we got the UK one, because that's often what happens in Australia. We just get whatever the UK got. Why is it so horny? I do remember it being quite seductive sounding. That's why I don't know if it was... It might have been that. I have to... I don't know. I have to have to do more research. I have to see if there was an Australian dub as well. Okay, so it seems like the latency, so we were getting quite a bit of latency before, and it seems like most of that came down to the decoder after all. I did this very informal test of like whether of like how long it took before we got a packet and then we showed the frame on the screen. But what I didn't keep in mind, I didn't account for the fact that the frame we get out of the decoder is not necessarily the same frame that we put into it. And what I mean by that is like, I was counting when we received a packet and then when that packet ended up on the screen. But it wasn't necessarily the same packet. It's possible for the decoder to queue stuff and have like a bunch of packets in memory. And so the frame we get out is actually a packet from like, half a second ago. And then that frame is the one that gets put onto the screen. Oops, I hit the mic, sorry. So the way around that was to basically modify the parameters of the H.264 stream that we send to the hardware decoder to say, because the decoder, I suppose, doesn't really know how many frames it needs to make a picture, or at least theoretically. It may not know. It could. So it will make like an educated guess, and its guess was a lot longer than the guess on desktop. The decoder we were using on the desktop, its guess is much shorter, which is why this wasn't a problem until we started using the Raspberry Pi decoder. Would it be possible to keep track of if there's too many frames that buffer and skip them? No, I don't think that's how it works. I think we've already bypassed that. Like the decoder just like makes a reasonable guess. Like how many frames do I think I need until the frame is going to be correct? And we just told it much less, and it seems like it's like, okay, well I'll just buffer. I won't buffer a lot of frames then. I think that's all it is. It's not a buffer. It's not like a it's not a buffer because out of like being slow or like one that it can't keep up with. It's a buffer that it's intentionally holding because it's like I might need 20 frames before I know definitively, or before I have a frame that's correct. It's just kind of guessing. I might need 20 packets. It's just kind of making an educated guess of some kind, and we can kind of inform it how many it actually needs, which shouldn't be many at all. Hey, Farmyard Gaming, thanks for the Prime sub. I appreciate that. Thanks for the 3 months. The second you read this message out loud, the document's viewers will disappear, so don't read it. Well, I've already read it. My bad. So, there is something I would like to try. So we got it down to about roughly 4 or 5 frames of latency, which is still a bit more than I'd like, but like it's way better than it used to be. There's one more thing I would like to try latency-wise, which I'll get into a little bit later on, but I think today's main goal is going to be getting audio working. That's funny. I read that out, and then all of the viewers did go. Were they all bots? I mean, I guess that wouldn't surprise me. Day 84 is going to be epic. We'll see. I don't know how many. I still don't know how many days this is going to be. So, but I mean, we're getting pretty close to like parity with the. Hey.
So happy you're streaming today. Steve makes it go by faster and better.
Hey, thanks, Authentic Benny. I appreciate that. What was I saying? Oh. I forgot what I was saying. I forgot what I was talking about. Oh yeah, how long is this gonna take? I mean, we're getting pretty close to like parity with the desktop version, and from there, it's mostly I think gonna be like kind of the finer details of things like NFC or the webcam or the microphone, stuff that's not like.
Goes swah, 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 swah.
Hey, thanks for the sub. Thanks for the tier 1, Duran Soldier. I appreciate that. Welcome back. Welcome back to the cleanup crew or the Cabrina Carpenter crew. So we're getting pretty close to like where it'll at least be as good as the desktop version of Vanilla, which we've had for a while. And then there's a few more like kind of ancillary functions that would be nice, like the webcam and the microphone and NFC. They're not, and the magnetometer. They're not like critical. They're not mission critical, but they're like, if we want it to be a complete remake, we should have all of those things. And then and then we'll see where it goes from there, I suppose. Does Raspberry have... Oh, I can't scroll for some reason. Better wireless range than the gamepad. As a kid, when I used my Wii U daily, it always annoyed me that you couldn't even go room rate with that thing disconnecting. Yeah, it all depends on the hardware. I mean, the Pi itself, I believe... The Pi on its own, my understanding is that the Wi-Fi reception is pretty mediocre, but like, because we kind of have to add a secondary Wi-Fi adapter anyway, then, you know, it depends on which one you get, and I'm sure if you really wanted to, you could customize it and add a much bigger antenna or something like that. I'm sure there are ways you could boost the signal if you really wanted to. I mean, that's the nice thing about an open source project, is that there's no wrong way that you could build it. You missed my question. Got an original Famicom and now brainstorming fun things to do with it. Got any ideas? Manufacturing cartridge and messing with its expansion port are currently top of my list. I am afraid I don't really know much about the Famicom. Apart from manufacturing a cartridge would be cool. I don't know what you can do with the expansion port. So sadly, I don't have any more ideas than you've already got. It sounds like you've got some good ideas. Opinions on the new Chromacopia album from Tyler. I haven't heard it yet. I have no opinion. But thanks for the super chat. I appreciate it. I should edit that, shouldn't I? The exclamation point what is incorrect. It's trying to get Wii U audio working on the Raspberry Pi. More specifically, it's Wii U gamepad audio working on the Raspberry Pi. Time to build a console yourself. It is possible to build a NES from scratch, like with either entirely off-the-shelf parts or by taking the CPU.
Opinions on the new Chromacopia album from
There it
Tyler.
is. Thanks for the super chat. Yeah, it is actually possible. I've considered doing this before, but I've just never gotten around to it. It's actually possible to build a new NES completely from scratch. I think this is one of them. I think this is only one of them. There are actually quite a few. I believe there's... Oh, I should say I believe there's more than one... I believe there's more than one open source project, which is basically a board remake of the NES, and most of the parts are off the shelf. You can... The CPU and GPU, there are like clones of them, but like they're not 100% perfect, so it's often recommended to just get to harvest the original CPU and GPU from a real NES anyway. Of course, I like the idea of everything being off the shelf, but you know, then you get like accuracy issues, like the sound isn't quite right and the visuals might not be quite right. I think it's stuff like that. Yeah, they aren't 100% identical substitute. Different sounding audio due to swapped duty cycles, stuff like that. Yeah. So, but this would be really fun to do. You know, build a console by hand. You know, build an entire NES. PCB way ad. Not yet, but we'll see. I mean, I might make a video about doing that one day. 8-hour stream today. Oh, I should mention, no, I don't think today is going to be an 8-hour stream. I actually need to get going around 4:30, and I didn't start. I started only a bit ago, so this is probably only going to be a 4 hour stream at most. So sorry about that, but yeah, if we don't get everything done today, it'll just have to be a hard cut off and try again next time. Make your own NES CPU. I guess there must be FPGAs to do that. They might be more accurate, but they also probably be more expensive because I think the aftermarket CPU and GPUs are only like a couple of dollars. They're not expensive, but an FPGA would probably be a lot more expensive. Okay, so latency tests. Okay, this is just something I want to try really, really quickly. If you look at the so the main thing that we changed last time was we changed max deck frame buffering from 1. Well, we set it to 1. I don't know what it was before is like I don't know if it's in the spec or if it's like just kind of a estimated guess based on the implementation. But hang on, where does it say? Here. Is not present, the value shall be inferred as follows. If the IDC is equal to that, and that's 1, then it would be 0. Otherwise, the value will be inferred to be equal to max DPB frames. So I guess it's max DPB frames. I don't know what that defaults to. But something that I realized when I was reading this is that we were following this forum thread where the guy set it to 1. But the spec says that it's actually possible to be equal to 0. So does that mean we can like gain an easy like 1 frame of latency, 1 less frame of latency by like what if we set this constraint set 3 flag to 1? What happens if we do that? And then the decoder thinks or infers that this is equal to 0. Could be interesting to try. June 0 latency doesn't work on this decoder. I believe it's only a FFmpeg or X264 thing. So let's give that a try. This is going to be a really quick test, I think. It's not going to, whether it does anything or not is something we'll see. I'm addicted to listening to Sega arcade music because of you. Damn you. You're welcome. Sega arcade music, I'm not gonna say by any means that it's like really good, but it is really fun, Okay, so for this test, I'm gonna enable VUI. We're gonna write none of these. Change that memory thing before testing. Oh yeah, I guess we were hard coding them before. That's another thing we might need to look at. So I think. Yeah, we had to, for the Pi, because the Pi seems to be missing an instruction, we had to hard code the
These bucks would gone to
SPS parameters.
Bezos this month if I didn't cancel. You deserve it. Oh, keep up the content.
Hey, thanks for the donation, Nick. These bucks would have gone to Bezos this month if I didn't cancel. You deserve it though, keep up the content. Hey, thanks. I mean, yeah, I guess, it is... I get a higher cut when it's a donation than when it's through Twitch, so hey, thanks, I appreciate it. And I'm glad you enjoy the content. The code work on ARM now? Not yet, because I think we have to get rid of this. This, I think, is... when we tried running this on the Raspberry Pi, it crashed out with in illegal instruction. I think the illegal instruction is this. I think we have to write like a custom implementation for it. Or at least like we have to write a software implementation for it. Does this look like it would work? AV codec flag, load delay, flag too fast. I have no idea. Someone in Discord rewrote this entire thing. Did they write the? I think I saw this, but yeah. So they're using a software implementation of CLZ as well. Yeah. We could try these. I mean, it's not like the latency is. I mean, yeah, I don't know if these will help compared to the other stuff or not yet. We'll have to find out. There was something about max B frames. Yeah, B frames would be an encoding thing, but I don't believe that the Wii U uses any B frames. You have to keep in mind that like this whole thing was designed to be decoded in real time. So if there's anything that's gonna like make it hard to decode in real time, there's a pretty good chance Nintendo didn't do it because their goal was the same as our goal, which is to decode in real time. So yeah, there's like a couple of things that we can try, I suppose. But we will have to write a new one of these, a new CLZL implementation. Oh, that watt is not currently correct. I can update that to testing a few more for things for latency reduction. Okay, so yeah, I think we just have to write a custom implementation of this. If it doesn't use B-frame, then maybe it makes sense to explicitly disable limit them so FFmpeg doesn't have to account for them. Perhaps it's not smart enough to detect that automatically. We'll see. All right, let's try a bunch of things. So first off, I guess. Oh, well, we'll get to that a little later. So, or maybe we should do it now. Hang on, where is the Pi? The Pi is off at the moment. Let me turn it off. Remember when you couldn't pair a gamepad because it was the wrong region? No, I've forgotten. Will this gamepad work with any region? Let me see. Is our screenshot up to date yet or not? The screenshot is not up to date, but the answer is yes. Like, if you play around with vanilla GUI, oh, fuck's sake, of course I have to. I hate this, but I still don't know if there's like anything I can really do to make it better. But yeah, there's a region setting in vanilla. Like, there just is. You can just choose your region. So anyway, the channel description has a lowercase I, and now I can't unsee it. You're on Twitch, so Twitch channel description. If there's a lowercase I in the Twitch channel description, it's probably on purpose. Yeah, that's on purpose. Okay. So I guess to count leading zeros, we just have to say no, it's size of value times size of byte, because we have to do every bit. And I guess we probably shouldn't do a multiply in the for loop, so I'll just say num bits. And where's the pi at? So I'll update you guys on where we are from last stream, just in case you missed. I know we went really late last stream. So if you don't know the current status of the project, let's power everything on and give it a try. In fact, let's see if we can all plugged in this. I think this should be good. Everything looks good. Let's connect. That's a constant expression. Okay, I'll give it a const. Okay. We have, yeah, everything's plugged in. Put the Wii U up. Oh, interesting. Okay, there we go. So with any luck, this should work. Okay. So you can see, compared to before, the latency is way, way better. There's still a tiny bit. You can kind of see, especially when like it goes from like the screen goes from white to black. You can still see that there is, it's still slightly behind. But yeah, I mean, we're getting really close to something that really works. Oh, don't forget to increase the buffer. Yeah, that's true. We can get it even more, get it even smoother by giving it a ludicrously large RMM value, which I need to probably write into the app. There's actually a way to like request a certain receive buffer size in C, but I haven't done that because I don't actually yet know what the value should be. So we'll have to figure that out at some point. But yeah, you can see that like, you know, on the right is the real Wii U, on the left is the Raspberry Pi gamepad. You can see it's working pretty well now. Oh, whoops, I hid the, my bad. So yeah, you can see it's working pretty damn well now. It's just, there are just a handful of things I would like to try. I mean, considering this is the lowest powered Raspberry Pi, I'm not incredibly mad if like this is the lowest latency we can get on this hardware, but I suspect we might be able to get a little bit less. Do the colors look less saturated on the Pi? Not to me, but I haven't done any empirical test. It's like 5.7 frames. I think I calculated like 4.9, but I think it might vary depending on like whose value you go with, because like we were using the Mario Party or the Mario Kart timer. Which one is the real Wii U? It's good that I can't tell. Yeah, the one on the right. That's the console. That's the Pi. And yeah, you can see it's just slightly behind. So we're gonna try a couple of things. Add open color IO. Not for this, I don't think. Okay. So that's the current status, and basically, like I said, if this is as good as it gets on this hardware, because it's like the lowest powered Pi you can get, I'm not mad if this is the lowest it can be, but I think we can do a bit better. I suspect we can do a bit better. It's running this well on a Pi Zero, right? That's awesome. Yes, a Pi Zero, not a Pi Zero 2. This is a Pi Zero 1 as well. Could be broadcast versus full range. It could be. I didn't see a difference, but like if we can do some eye dropping later on and see. But I don't even know if I don't even know if we would expect the color to be exactly the same on the real gamepad. I mean, I don't even know if there's a way to know. All of this just to port Lego Island to the Wii U is crazy. You found my true motive. Hi Matt, no PTSD due to XGLOM coding. You know, I tend to find that when it comes to projects like these, I think the ends justify the means. So the fact that it worked, I'm all good. I'm satisfied with that. You'll be needing eye-dropping if someone do team steering contest. Fuck. We get a Sabrina Carpenter game from you once you finish this. I don't even know, what would a Sabrina Carpenter game look like? See, I know you're gonna say, you tell me, you're the one that dreamed it, but I'm like, she only appeared for like a second in my dream. I was just like, oh, that's interesting, and then like I woke up. There was no more than that. Ah, damn it. Okay, staring contest time. Alright, here we go. Here we go. Let's see if I can do any better than last time. I also need to pee, which is not going to be helpful for this. So if you're just joining, if you've never seen this stream before, we do a thing where people can redeem this channel point, which reward, which is that we all stare at each other lovingly for a few seconds. Hopefully more than a few seconds, actually. Boo. All right, let's go. Let's just go for it, I suppose. So I'm gonna try and moisten my eyes. Okay, 3, 2, 1, go. And I'm gonna try and ignore the fact that I still need to pee. Oh, that was close. Okay, that's it. That's all I can do. Oh. Only 16. How depressing. Use the piss to moisten your eyes. That's so true. Have you ever been like stuck in a car and like you really need to piss, but there's nowhere to piss and you're stuck in traffic, so it's like you can't just like pull over and stop off at the Burger King or whatever. You're like, you're in stopped traffic. All you can do is just sit there. Have you ever thought, like, what if you just rolled down the window and just like whipped it out and like piss out the window, right? Doesn't that make so much sense? This is interesting. Why did I write this? That's stupid. This literally does nothing. Piss at the enemy car. True. I've never done it, but there have been times when I've been bursting, and I've just looked at the window and I'm just like, So if you ever see piss just inexplicably flying out of your driver's window, out of like the driver's window of like a car in front of you, it might be me. Maybe I will have mustered up the courage to do it one day. Close. Years ago, some friends and I got a limo to go to a casino, and we pre-gamed, and for the last 10 minutes of the ride, I was very uncomfortable. You know, desperate times call for desperate measures, you know? You don't want to piss inside your car, like, or you don't want to piss, like, if you don't have a container, you don't just want to piss in your car. The piss has got to go somewhere, and it's got to go outside. Anyway. You plan on doing vanilla for Windows at some point, or is it too annoying? I suspect vanilla for Windows is not possible, because this relies on some fairly low-level editing of the Wi-Fi protocol, which is probably it's not doable on Windows. It's just it's because Windows is not open source, and I assume the modules that you would need to edit are not open source. Then it's going to require a lot of like reverse engineering and binary editing. My guess is that's going to be what it's going to require, a lot of that stuff. And at that point, it's like, you know, I feel like it's too much at that point. What you will be able to do probably is once we get this Realtek Arduino to start connecting stuff like phones and shit to the Wii U. That will almost certainly work on Windows. So if you're willing to buy a little bit of extra hardware, then we can probably get it working on Windows. But outside of that, it's, I think, going to be challenging. Later on a CFW Switch. It's a So it's a similar problem on the Switch that the modules that you have to edit a closed source. I still want to give it a go because I think the Switch might be worth it. I don't necessarily think Windows is worth it because considering that like it might even be different for each, like it might be the drivers that you have to edit, so it might be different for each Wi-Fi adapter. But I think the Switch is significant enough that the Switch would be worth giving it a go. I can't promise anything, but maybe, right? Maybe. We investigate reversing a Wi-Fi dongle firmware to change WPA2 protocol directly in the dongle, then we could do it on Windows and sell some vanilla compatible dongle. I feel like at that point you may as well just do the Realtek microcontroller, because this thing is, in many cases, this thing is probably... Hey, Proddy, thanks for the tier 1, I appreciate it. Thanks for 3 months. In many cases, I think this microcontroller is actually going to be cheaper than a lot of Wi-Fi adapters, and at that point, we don't have to worry about like Windows at all, really. Like, I think this is probably going to be the solution for just about anything that can't do it natively. The Realtek Arduino thing. It's not an Arduino, but it's, you know, it's more fun to say Arduino than microcontroller. I think, you know, by the time it gets to like extra hardware, we may as well just do this, because this is kind of the tentative plan for phones as well. Oh, the WSL? No, because I don't think you need like low-level access to the, because like WSL is still going to access the internet through, unless you can like pass a USB device directly through, or PCIe Wi-Fi device directly through to WSL, then maybe it's possible. At that point, you're basically using Linux in a virtual machine. It's possible with Linux in a virtual machine, but yeah, it's like that's the kind of the level it has to be. It has to be kind of like direct. Linux would have to have direct access to the hardware, either USB or PCIe. How did you fix the latency? It doesn't say in the doc. I guess I can say how. The decoder was buffering more frames than it needed to. Turns out if you don't specify in the stream how many frames to buffer, it will most likely make an educated guess. However, we can specify to buffer less frames, and that largely solved the issue. So that being said, we might be able to get the decoder to buffer 0 frames with some more H.264 SPS parameter modification. We'll give it a go. So yeah, if you missed it from last stream, the H.264 standard has these things called SPS parameters. They're called sequence parameter settings or something like, or sequence parameter set, I think. And they're just a bunch of like, they look like just a bunch of bytes, but each, you know, it has a bunch of information in there about how to decode the stream. And I stole these from DRC Sim because they worked for DRC Sim, so I figured they would work for me too. Turns out that if we edit, but it turns out like there's a parameter in here that says like how many, because the way that H.264 works is it, you know, it's possible that a frame will not be, like, it won't actually be able to decode a frame until it's given a bunch of packets. Then it kind of, the decoder is designed so that it can buffer frames ahead of time, so that, you know, it always has a bunch of frames in memory. And I guess it uses kind of an educated guess of how many, if you don't specify how many you need, or like how many it should keep in memory, it'll just kind of guess. And I guess the Raspberry Pi guesses more than desktop Linux does, or desktop FFmpeg does. Hang on a sec. Thanks for the super chat. I am actually going to go take a piss right now, so I'll be back in a sec. Hello. So, sing the Arthur Wii U. So it would be like Wii U, Wii U, Wii U, Wii U, like that, basically. I did not piss out of a window. Thankfully, I'm not stuck in traffic right now. But we figured the SPS thing out last stream. I left before you did a deep dive. Yeah. And it took a while because I basically wrote an SPS implementation from scratch, which is rather complicated. But it seems to work, and that's the important thing. Basically, it boils down to us saying, hey, decoder, you don't need to buffer that much. And the decoder saying, okay. The thing I want to try is basically just, okay. Oh, there are a couple things we have to try. First thing is I have to rewrite this because CLZ is not available on ARM v6 as it turns out. So I'm gonna have to write something to count leading zeros in a number. What I'm concerned about is like, I thought we were done with this, but hang on, I have to research kind of like, because what I'm not entirely sure about is like, is the endianness of it. Do I have to like manually worry about the endianness of this? My gut feeling is I do. There's a weird fascination with piss in this chat. I don't know what you're talking about. I think it's a healthy fascination. Oh no! Oh no! No. Maybe we don't need to be we don't need to be piss boys in here. You never have to worry about the endianness. Well, okay. What I'm saying is like, okay. So if I was like, endianness doesn't exist and we don't talk about it. Hang on, so it's just, hang on, let me just write this logic out. If I x column value and break else. So in my head, yeah, in my head this seems like it should. Oh no, actually wait, which one? This is not supposed to be that. It's yeah. Count leading zero start. Well, considering again that this is a 64-bit value, I know that if this was like an 8-bit value, we wouldn't have to worry about endianness at all. But considering it's a 64-bit value, do I have to worry about the fact that like, I feel like I probably do. Which I kind of hate. Shouldn't value be the right endianness going into this? Not into this function, because this we just give it like 10 or 1, and as far as so this will be little endian on an x86 platform and on an ARM platform. So by the time value gets in here, it's little endian. It's still little endian. I only correct the endianness when we get to it. There's actually no yeah, I only correct the endianness when we go to write the bits. Bitwise operation don't care about endianness. I know, that's the problem, right? Because like, hang on, let me try and write this out. So if I was like, yeah, 0x10, and then we write that out in, oh no, actually, let's just say 2, because that would be binary 10. So the way that would work, that would break down in bits is 6, 7, 8. Is always 1, and is always the MSB shifting it right will always halve the value. So it will figure it out for me? Oh, okay. So I think you're right, actually. So the architecture will figure out the bits for me. Because yeah, you're right. If you shift right or left, it always if you shift right, it always divides by 2. Interesting. What's this? Processor may represent the byte in any other way. Anyway, it's talking about that endianness. Okay. What's the question? What's the question this answers? Does bit shift depend on endianness? Okay. So the accepted answer, which is this one, the accepted value points out that endianness is a concept from the memory view, but I don't think that answers the question directly. Some answers tell me that bitwise operations don't depend on endianness, and the processor may represent the bytes in any other way. It's talking about the endianness. It's talking about that endianness. Hang on. Some answers tell me that bitwise operations don't depend on endianness, and the processor may represent the bytes in any other way. Anyway, it's talking about that endianness gets abstracted. But when we do some bitwise calculations on paper, for example, don't need to state the endianness in the first place. Most times we choose an endianness implicitly. For example, assume. Okay. I'm just gonna go with that. I'm just gonna assume you're right, and that that this should just work. Cool. Hey, thanks for the gold membership, Iggy Goon. I guess we don't have TTS for that. Imagine the monetary value that Wii U consoles will have added to them once this is finished, from essentially bricked to totally working and cheap alternative screens. Genius. Good luck as always. Hey, thanks. That's the idea. A Wii U console on its own is more or less like a paperweight. But, you know, if you can just turn anything, or if you can just buy a new gamepad, or if you can turn what you already have, which is like a phone and maybe like a cheap $3 module or something, into a gamepad, then, you know, you kind of, it's not really a big problem anymore. You can just use the Wii U then. The work, but the issue will arise if you memcopy the bytes of the UN64 directly to the SPS buffer, because then they will be mixed up. Yeah, that's okay. I mean, I do some fucking bit bullshit up here, which seems to be fine. So as long as this works, let's try our, this is why it was actually a good idea to make a unit test. I'm saying that as if it was my idea, which it wasn't really. I think this is expected. I think we have to like update a buffer in bit test is the wrong size, I think. I think make the loop thing. Hang on. Make the loop thing value and 163 minus I. Oh. Yeah, that's right. This is yeah, it shouldn't actually be 1. It should be yeah, I think you're right. Minus I think it might have to be -1 because if it shifts all 64, then it's completely off. I think it has to be 63 and then yeah, I think that's right. Stack buffer overflow. Where's this happening? On simple. In your original, hang on. In the original Wii U video, you mentioned how third-party manufacturers had trouble recreating the gamepad. Do you think that once this is finished, a bunch of decently priced clones will pop up? We'll see what China does. I think, yeah, as CK Deva says, probably end up costing too much to produce to ever become a regular thing. I could easily see, we'll see if a Chinese factory can make it for under $50, then maybe. I suspect that with all of the hardware that's inside a gamepad, it's gonna cost more than it could. I could see it costing as much as 70 or 80, hopefully less than $100 to build a whole new gamepad from scratch, depending on how much the screen costs and stuff like that. And at the point that it's $70, it might be at that point you may as well kind of just buy an old gamepad, buy an existing gamepad. I think if you were building this yourself, you could probably build it relatively affordably. But as for selling mass production, I feel like they might be too expensive to warrant, being, because they have to be cheaper than just buying a secondhand gamepad. But there's yeah, I think it's gonna be too expensive to mass produce, but we'll see. You can find an original gamepad for way less, I think, and legit hardware is more valued by collectors. Sure. I think I see gamepads going for... Let's find out. Yeah, 70 seems about what they tend to... broken screen. Yeah, about 70 bucks. 60, including shipping. 70 seems to be, this is 65. That's the best deal so far. That seems to be about what they cost. So if we can get something, if they can be mass produced for under 50, I feel like there's a chance. I suspect that depending on the cost of the screen and other components, it might end up costing about the same, around 70. So I'm not sure. I'm not entirely sure what the prospect of mass producing is. Of course, if you're building yourself, I think you could probably do it, and using a lot of off-the-shelf cheap components. I feel like you could probably. This is 55. That's a pretty decent deal. Yeah. Sold listings to get accurate pricings. Yeah, I suppose you're right. What do they actually sell for? 56, no charger. 58, I assume also no charger. 65, including shipping, 72-ish. This is for parts, doesn't really count. 80, yeah, but it's about what I expected, about 70-ish. I would say averaging somewhere around $70 is what a secondhand gamepad costs. So for this to be a viable alternative, it has to cost a lot less than that. To mass production scale, I could see it costing about that much. It might be possible to do it for less, but I am skeptical that it will cost a lot less than 70 to mass produce these each. And at that point, I don't know if there's really that big of a market for it. That being said, I mean, you could just say fuck it, and you could make like a premium gamepad, and then, you know, people might pay in the same way that people pay for like high quality third-party controllers. Like, people pay a lot for like a Hori N64 controller because, you know, it's got a good quality, good reputation. You know, those are way more expensive than an original N64 controller. You could maybe make a premium Wii U gamepad with like a bigger, nicer screen and like nicer. Hey, Perky Agnostic, thanks for the Prime sub for 2 months. I appreciate that. Hell yeah. IPS screen. You could use like a 2560 by 1440 screen, because that would be, you know, integer scale, like 3x 480. So it would be like getting a retina screen for the the Wii U gamepad, and that you might be able to do. I mean, that would be over 100, I would assume, but that might have a market, like a niche market for like people who would spend a lot of money for it.
Greetings from France. We
Hey.
are also on YouTube and love Tiny. Keep up the great work.
Hey, thanks. I'm not sure how to pronounce your name, but I really appreciate the donation. Thanks for watching. I'm glad you enjoy the project. Yeah, thanks so much. I really appreciate that. OLED screen would be cool. Yeah, I think there's arguably there is a market for like a high-end version of the gamepad, something better than the original gamepad. But as far as like an exact clone, I mean, let's be honest. If it was a Chinese manufactured retro thing, the quality is probably gonna be a little bit worse than the original. And if it's about the same price, then there's kind of no point. I think the ability to build one of these from scratch is like that could be helpful. The ability for people who can do DIY, the ability to turn like your phone into one with like a cheap off-the-shelf Arduino, like $5 Arduino. I think that's a solid approach, and I think there's probably a market for like a premium gamepad. I'm not sure about a market for just like a direct clone, unless it's like significantly cheaper. I'm not sure about the market for a direct clone. Wouldn't 480p scale to 4040p look horrible? No, because you could. It's essentially the same thing that the IPS Game Boy screens do. They're like double resolution in both directions. So as long as it's an integer scale, trying to figure out how to explain this. As long as it's like an integer scale and like each pixel doesn't become like 2.5 pixels. If it's like a 2x or a 3x or a 4x, usually it'll look pretty good. It might look a little like pixelated, but it won't look any worse than the original will on an LCD screen. So the nice thing about 1440 is exactly 3x 480. So every pixel just gets scaled. So every pixel 1 by 1 becomes 3 by 3. And there's no like filtering or no interpolation or anything like that. So it should look pretty good. I mean, you're not getting any more resolution unless you use like AI to smooth it out. But it won't look any worse than the original did, because you're just turning one pixel. You're turning one big pixel into 3 by 3 smaller pixels. But like what your eye sees will look pretty much exactly the same. That's my that's the point. Is it won't look any worse than 480, and you might it might look a little nicer in that you might get like you might not be able to see like the lines between the pixels. It may be the lines will get a lot finer, so it might look a little bit nicer. The only way you really get like better resolution is probably using like some kind of AI upscaling. I mean, that's the thing. You could use some kind of AI upscaling, and then it's like arguably an improvement over the original. Some people might like that. Or maybe someone will figure out a way for the Wii U to send a 1080 signal to the gamepad. Currently, I don't think that exists because there's no point. But if we had something like this, if we had a the ability to make custom gamepads, maybe we'd open it up to there being, a reason to write something, a mod that would give you a 1080 thing. Don't bother with scaling, just buy the cheapest 480p screen, print a 3D case, and overlap the black bars. The thing about that is that like 480 screens are actually not easy to find. Like it may actually genuinely be, well, firstly, again, like I said, it's like it could be it's up to the user whether they think it would be nice to upscale or not. Some people I'm sure wouldn't like it at all, but some people might think it's might see the benefit to doing that. But it's also really difficult to find a screen that's 854 by 480. There's like the Pi 7. There's a Raspberry Pi screen which is 800 by 480. You end up cutting 54 pixels off the sides, which is maybe not the end of the world, but it's not really ideal. It may, but 2560 by 1440 is a fairly common resolution, especially on phones. So it may genuinely be easier to find a 1440 screen than an 854 by 480 screen. That's something we'll have to see about. But yeah. So all of that is a long way of saying like, I don't know if there'll be like mass-produced gamepads. It's not impossible. I think China would have to figure out a way to get it below $50, or like factories in China, I should say, would have to figure out a way to get it below $50, and then maybe. I don't know if there's any other way to do it, or if you like built it yourself, but that's not. Then you're not talking about mass-produced. Anyway, so that's a long way of saying, yeah, that. China knows how to cut costs, though. I'm not saying they couldn't do it. I'm just saying I couldn't promise anything. Import taxes will make it over 50. Yeah, that could be it. Found an AMOLED screen with 854 by 480 resolution on AliExpress for 40 euros. What's the size of it though? Because I found ones that are like, if I find one that it's like, it will be something that's like 4 inches, which is like smaller than the gamepad screen. I feel like at the very least you want it the same size, if not bigger than the original screen. Okay, what's happening here? 268. What 4 inches are you buying? Oh no. 4 inches? Yeah, I think I found that one as well. Offset times is bit index. Oh, this should be 0. That's weird. 7-inch displays at 1024 by 600. Yeah, but the problem with that is that you're like like an integer scale, 3x scale, 1440p. That's fine, but when you're talking 600, that's a 125% scale, and that's just gonna look really bad. You're still twiddling our bits. Just briefly, I need to like. We're on a couple of tangents at the moment. Which is okay. I'm like, I'll need to write a CLZ implementation for ARMv6z though. First. So this is what we're doing first, is we're just bringing the CLZ implementation over to, we're just writing a count leading zeros implementation. How big would the image be if we used a 7-inch 1024? Oh, so if we cropped it? So I guess it would be, we'd have to, we can do this, here we go. We can do this calculation. So if it's, there's a, it's 7 inches. Width is 6 inches, height is 3.5. So if it's 1.25, divided by 1.25, 2.8 inches vertically, then if it was... Hang on, I know this is ridiculous. What was... It was 2.9, 2.8. Okay, so it's still a bit smaller than the original screen, but it's not a terrible idea to do it that way, because at least you get all the resolution and you can just cut off the sides with the case, right? So it's not a terrible idea to do that, but it's slightly smaller by 0.1 inches vertically. So, you know, not terrible. Next time you use AI for code generation, don't use ChatGPT. Use something purpose-built like I had way better results with that. I mean, I only use AI when the chat suggests it. I don't actually use it at all myself, really. But I'll keep that in mind. Why would it be trying to do this? This seems wrong. I'm currently having to debug some code because this seems completely wrong somehow. Yeah. Oh, I should. It might be my leading zero count. It might be. It's probably going to be this actually. I was like, why is my bit writing code wrong? It probably isn't. It's probably this bit that's wrong. 30. I think it should be. I think it should be. Because we're writing. Okay. Wait. I think I know. I think I know what's happening here. Test equals 1. Tests. And tests. Okay, good. So that was just a really so I guess when I had it like this, it was perceiving this as a 32-bit number rather than a 64-bit number, so it wasn't getting all of our leading zeros in. I think we can, if we cast it, I think that would solve it. Yeah, okay. Cool. Actually, I think, isn't it true that I can do 1 LL and that'll work as well? Okay, cool. Good. Love it.
I'm 14 and can I have a shout I'm Odin?
I have a, what? Can I have a shout out? A shout I'm Odin. Hey, thanks for the super chat, Plumber Power Gaming. I appreciate that. Is your name Odin? Is that what that means? Consider looking at the GitHub just I posted on Discord. It's probably slightly slower method, but I can confirm it works on multiple platforms. Should work on a CPU. I think I saw it. Yeah. But yeah, thanks. I appreciate that. But I think this should work. Yeah, at least my unit tests still work. ULL, not that it matters. Okay, cool. Cool. So now that that's done, cross that out. Where's the, whatever. Strike through, okay. Alt-Shift-5, that's an interesting keyboard shortcut. I'm interested in the flag. Okay, hang on, let me see. Let me clarify. Previously, we set to 1 according to the forum thread. Let me copy this. I'm gonna link this forum thread we used. Forum thread. However, the spec claims that we can, that if constraint set 3 flag is enabled, the decoder should assume it's 0, which not only implies that it might be worth setting that flag instead of the buoy parameters, but also that the... Actually, maybe I'll do it the other way around. It not only implies that this can be 0, but also that it might be worth setting that flag instead of the buoy parameters. Okay, so now that we've done that, go ahead and commit that. Oh, whoops. There we go. Oh, we'll move all of this stuff, I think. Yeah, all of that stuff I think can be removed. Yeah, this didn't do anything. That was stupid. I won't commit these because these were just kind of things we were testing that didn't make a difference. Use software CLZL implementation. Commit. Might even... I won't discard them, I'll stash them for now. So we'll go back to the defaults according to the spec. Although this, I still might set to 0, because I'm not sure what the point of this would be. I wonder if these 13 days could have fitted into like 4. Under what circumstances? Like if I was working 8 hours each day, or if I wasn't streaming, or do you just mean if I was like a better programmer? What circumstances are we talking about here? So I'm gonna turn this on basically. Constraint set 3 flag, which, let's see, what does the spec say this flag actually does? Obeys all constraints specified in Annex A. Oh, of course, that's it. I have to read fucking 20 other pages to figure out what it does. If vanilla was written in C++ or Rust? C++, I wouldn't assume they would make that much of a difference. I don't think so. There are certainly things that have been made a little bit harder in C, but I think for the most part it would be about the same. Annex A for the high 10 intro profile. Okay, so I don't know if this stream does obey all of the constraints specified in Annex A for the high 10 intro profile, so I don't know if this is going to do anything. We can also just try setting this to 0, honestly. In fact, maybe that is actually the smarter thing to do. Let's try setting this to 0 and see if we get any improvement. Oh yeah, I have to make clean. Alright, where are we at? Okay, cool. So when this is done, we should be... Well, it'll be interesting to see if we, like... Interesting to see if we actually save a frame of latency by doing this. Alright. Okay, it's all copied over. Oh, I have to turn the Wii U back on. Okay. we might just get no frames at all, obviously. This might not have anything to do with the parameters I set. Sometimes this happens and it's just like, it just requires like things to be reset. Are we working on audio today, or we'll still trying to squeeze out every bit of performance we can while not even on the purpose-built distro? No, we're just doing this one test, and then we're going to move on to audio, pretty much. And then if and yeah, performance might just come down to like getting our own kernel, or getting our own distro from then onwards. Okay, why are we not getting anything? We're not even getting like command flags, so this is not necessarily a decoder issue. This is more likely like just some kind of temporary network thing. Did you know the KC in MattKC is short for Kego Island? I didn't know that. But now I do. I thought it stood for Cabrina Carpenter. Check out the std_c leading 0 class of function in C23. Oh, apparently FFmpeg has these. That's useful. Interesting. I wonder if those work on the, I assume they should. They should work on the Pi. That would be useful. What could be optimized with a custom distro / kernel? It's mostly just about like, so, you know, because as light as Alpine is, it is a, okay, I'll just reboot everything. As light as Alpine is, it is, you know, a full Linux distro. It does have like services and things and the shells and programs running that we just don't need. Like basically, all we need essentially is like the Linux kernel and is it just the Linux kernel with like networking, WPA supplicant and vanilla? Like we don't really need much of anything. We don't even need a real like user land, because the goal is not necessarily to get the shit like, oh, we need sound, I guess, but the goal is not necessarily to get the user doesn't need to do anything except like boot it up and have vanilla run. So like a lot of this stuff, the stuff it's doing now, is probably not like 100. A lot of it is probably not necessary. So that's what a custom distro would help with. Alpine is still general purpose. It can only be so light. Yeah, pretty much. Whereas we're doing something very purpose built. It's very specific. Like we just want it to boot up and become a Wii U gamepad. So yeah. Hey, Blue Scream LP, thanks for gifting a tier 1 sub. I appreciate that. Thanks for gifting 8 in total. Hell yeah. Linux from scratch then? Maybe. I've build root I read about as well. It might be one or the other. It depends. Like I said, it might literally just be the kernel and make sure that audio and networking is there, and like the Raspberry Pi drivers, the like KMSDRM drivers. LFS is also a bit general purpose. Is that like a thing? I assumed, I read that as just compiling everything, like compiling the kernel and shit ourselves, but is that an actual specific thing? Vanilla is like a single serving site? Yeah, pretty much. Not needing an entire X11 DWM for such a task as this. Yeah, we don't, that's the thing, we don't have any X11 on here, we don't have any Wayland or anything like that. It really is just, you know, the kernel the drivers for the GPU, the network, and the audio. I think that's everything we need. Oh, LFS is a legit project to build your own general purpose Linux distro. All you really need is an image with a kernel, bootloader, and a few libraries. Ah, okay, gotcha. Yeah, that's what I was reading Linux from scratch as. I didn't realize it was for a whole. The end result was supposed to be a whole distro. Interesting. Maybe it is the that thing we set then. So I set this. If I set it back to 1, the question is, if I set it back to 1, will it just suddenly start working? If it does, then we can be reasonably sure that setting this flag doesn't help us. It's an interesting project if you want to learn how to build a Linux distro, but it's quite a lot of work. Interesting. What's the difference between it and Gen 2? Or is it just Gen 2 has at least some infrastructure and LFS has none? Okay, so I guess it needs to be at least 1. Why not just chop away an existing Linux distro like Raspbian or something? Because we don't. It's like there's more stuff that we don't need than that we do. We basically just need like a bootloader, a kernel, and vanilla. Like a distro is going to have a lot more than that. LFS is a PDF. That's the difference. Gen 2 is a distro. LFS is a book. Okay, I see. Interesting. Can you stop hiding the Twitch chat for a second? Okay. I can still read it. Try Alpaquita in the muzzle perf flavor instead of Alpine, see if it's any faster. Maybe. I think by the time we're experimenting with other distros, we may as well just like write a custom one. So the other thing I wanted to try was, so if we have no VUI and we just say, oh wait, doesn't this have to be greater than or equal to? So if we set this to 0 and this to 0, does that do anything? I'm just kind of playing around at this point. I'm just fiddling with the SPS parameters to see if we can get anywhere with them. Put it on YouTube chat for a bit as compensation. You're right. People talking about bootloaders. What about shoe loaders? You make a persuasive argument. Oh, interesting. How fun! Look at this. I love when shit breaks in a horrendous fashion. That's different. Yeah, I know. Well, that's cool. I love that. Okay, well, I guess this isn't gonna work. I guess we'll try something else. Oh, let's try something else. All right, so I guess this at least has to be 1 ref frames. I assume that's written somewhere in the spec. Maximum number of short-term and long-term reference frames, complementary reference field pairs, and non-paired reference fields that may be used by the decoding process for interprediction of any picture in the zones. That'll be in the range of 0 to... Interesting. So the spec says that it is actually valid for this to be 0, but when we tried it just now, it really wasn't happy. Rewrite SPS parameter generation? No, there is no need to do that. Okay, Okay, is this going to do the same thing if we have this and 0, this is 0? I thought I did this last time. Hang on, let me just double check. So does this give us glitches? I'm just now curious. I'll put it next to me. Why not just a completely custom OS for it? Oh no. I think that starts to get a little bit out of scope. Put it over me. Okay, so this is with glitches. If I set this to what happens if I set this to 1? Just out of curiosity, what happens? I'm just, yeah, like I said, I'm just playing around with these now to see what happens if I set certain things. It's just out of curiosity, really. Temple OS. Surely this could run on Temple OS. Did Temple OS ever have a H.264 decoder? That's, I feel like, the biggest barrier. Okay, so it's still glitchy. Interesting. Then what can we try next? So setting this to 0 and this to 1 made it not glitchy, but it did make nothing appear on the screen. That seemed to be what happened. Tried compiling the kernel bootloader and use utils from scratch. It was fun. I learned how complex Linux story is even with so few parts. Yeah, I can believe that. Okay, so this gives us 0, nothing on the screen at all. Interesting. So my final test is if we turn off VUI and we turn on constraint set 3 flag. See if that does anything. It also might be worth playing around with the profile, because the profile is currently set to, I think, high something. And it would be interesting just to play around with other profiles and see if anything does anything different. Okay, so this is... Okay, so the latency is now back. So that didn't do anything. Okay. Well, good to know. I'm glad we did those experiments. All right, so we'll revert all of that back. And you auto setting RMM yet? No. So you stop forgetting? Yeah, I guess so. I guess I could do that. Echo 32 million into Proxys netcore RMM default. Okay, there. Now we can be sure that we'll never need to do that ever again. I mean, ultimately we should write that into vanilla itself, because it's possible to do that. I don't yet know what the value that we should set it to is yet, but in theory, that's probably, like, that would be the better solution. No latency when it just doesn't work anymore. True. Okay, so here we are. Relatively low latency stream. can play Mario 64. I wonder how close I can... Actually, I guess I can... Yeah, if I manually edit the size, I can get them to be exactly the same size. 4 by 480. Okay, so in theory, these are now exactly the same size. Yeah, and the only real difference is that the one on the left is slightly delayed behind the one on the right. What are we going to call the Linux distro since Vanilla OS is taken? I like Vanilla Pi. I like that it's kind of a pun. So maybe we can call it Vanilla Pi OS. It's a bit of a mouthful, but not much more than Raspberry Pi OS. Virtual console dimming? Yeah, I guess so. Color-wise, I think it is the same. I mean, I'm not like looking at this on a... This is the monitor I've got here is not like a really color accurate monitor, but I think it's the same. Overlay it with 50% opacity. That sounds fun. Okay, let me get which one's opacity? Here we go. Oh, this is gonna be really trippy. I can already tell. Oh no. Oh, I hate it. I hate this. I hate this. One on the left is less vibrant. I don't know. To me, they look exactly the same. Drunk mode. It is drunk mode. I've tried Lakitu skip before. I can do Lakitu skip sometimes. I'm not very consistent at it, but I don't think I could do it with this. Make them both 50%. I don't think that will really do anything. Cursor trails mode. Oh god, it's so trippy. Looks just barely less saturated or a touch darker. Let me see. Delete the filter. I feel like I need to get like a... Hang on. Oh yeah, I can. I'm gonna use a screen picker. I think it's exactly the same. Like, hang on. Let me do this on stream so you guys can see. Oh. Where did my screenshot go? I guess I'll have to do another one. That was weird. Why did that happen? Oh, I see. I put it in the wrong place. Okay. So here we go. I'll try and get this as close as possible. This is there, 42, 73, 68. I think it's the same. I mean, it's obviously really hard to click on exactly the same pixel. 25, 59, 98. Yeah, it's like, it's each one of these is only one off, and it's probably just because I clicked like slightly to the left. I think it's literally exactly the same. Oh, the screens? Oh, fuck. I'm sorry. What I was doing was I have this screenshot and I'm just picking like colors. 24, 58, 97. Yeah, it's only like one pixel. It's like basically exactly the same. Just because but that's almost certainly just because I didn't pick exactly the same color. I think it's exactly the same. 26, 97, 57, 97. Yeah, they'll be like slightly different, but only because I'm not clicking it. They're basically the same. It's basically exactly the same. Try a UI pixel. I mean, this is just gonna be white, isn't it? I don't even know. I don't remember what I clicked on before. It's not the same. It's only because I'm not picking on this. I'm not choosing exactly the same pixel. H.264 encoded video is going to deviate slightly no matter what. Yeah, I mean, because it goes through like YOV conversion. Like YOV conversion back and forth might be different by like one value, but like it's one value. It doesn't actually. You're not going to perceive one value. Click the black bit. They're both black. What do you mean, like a black bit? Like a, here, I'll pick a bob-omb. 10, 12, 9. Thing is, I can't pick the same pixels, it's too hard. I have to like open this in Photoshop or something so I could do this more formally, but I'm pretty sure it's exactly the same. If it's anything, it's off by like one value, which is going to be like almost imperceptible anyway. Zoom in and pick a corner pixel. Okay. Oh, I guess I could probably pick a pixel pretty easily if it's this close. Here, we'll pick this pixel on Mario's hat. The dark one at the top, okay? Oh, there isn't a dark one at the top. Okay, so they're like slightly different, but like as we've been saying, there's like, we're going to expect some slight like, why is there not a dark pixel on that one? Hang on. Let me try something a little bit more scaling. That's the other thing. They're being scaled very differently. Like this is pixel for pixel 854 by 480. This one is being scaled down by OBS from like 1080p down to 480. So like it's not, that too is not like a reliable thing. Here, we'll pick something kind of neutral, like on the grass. So that's like the top left pixel on the grass. 44, 65, 44. Yeah, it's different by like one pixel, and some of them are brighter and some of them are darker. It's like, and that's almost certainly explained by just like YOV to RGB. It's not significantly different. It's barely different at all. 41, see, that one down. 41, 64, 44. Yeah, this is brighter. So anyone who is saying, oh, it's darker, it's like, this is 44, 65 instead of 41, 64. So like, it's only going to be like things like YOV 420, like, inaccuracies or inaccuracies in the scaling. It's basically the same. It's, as far as I'm concerned, it's exactly the same. Because yeah, the thing about YOV, it's so if you don't know what YOV is, it's like, yeah, YOV RGB does floating point calculation, so it could be as simple as different FP inaccuracies, sure. So this is a whole thing that we probably shouldn't get into, but when you encode video, most of the time, what the fuck is this? Why are there all these topless women holding whole thing test screens. So yeah, if you don't know, like I said, this is a whole thing that we probably shouldn't get into, but oftentimes what we've YCVCR actually, yeah, you're right. Oftentimes when you encode video, you don't encode it RGB, like red, green, blue, because people learned, it turns out the human eye is good at picking up like differences in black and white, like contrast black, like dark to white, but it's not so good at picking up differences in color. So people realized that you could save a lot of bandwidth by having the luminance, the white and the blacks, full resolution, but the color only like quarter or half resolution. So usually video is encoded, you know, full resolution color, full resolution luminance, low resolution color. And this conversion into luminance and then 2 color channels instead of RGB is theoretically it's lossless, but in practice there may be like very, very slight inaccuracies. Like you might get, you know, 64 on one and 65 on the other, which is basically what we were getting. So, and obviously because it's being encoded in H.264 and doing all of this, then this is happening. This is happening. This conversion is happening. So if you're seeing like slight changes in values, that's probably that. But as far as like being significantly darker or significantly desaturated, it doesn't seem like it. The numbers don't suggest that. What's actually the point of YOV 444 versus RGB? I'm not sure. My guess is just compatibility, like compatibility with existing infrastructure of other things. Is there a point to YOV 444 over RGB? Sake. Problem is I'm on a VPN, so it thinks I'm a robot. Yeah, my guess is it's just compatibility with 420 or 420, I should say. I shouldn't really say 420. It should be 420 or 422. So my guess is it's just compatibility with that existing infrastructure. But yeah, but I think I think the value, the different values can be explained by just the fact that it had to go through conversion from, you know, RGB to 420 back to RGB. As I don't otherwise think it's significantly different. Keep in mind that your capture card is also re-encoding the output from the TV, so that can also cause some differences in color. Yeah, I mean, my capture card, what is it currently set to? Yeah, well, even the capture card is interpreting, or it's like reading it as YUYV422. So even that, so they might be going through another kind of conversion. So yeah, there'll always be very, very slight differences in the values, and not necessarily like, they're not unexpected and they're not really a problem. But yeah, and it's probably just something like that. Still typically achieves better compression. Interesting. I guess I can see that. Anyway, okay, so I think it's fine. Okay, so now that we've worked that out, let me update the dock. What was it? It was Shift Alt 5. Okay. Sadly, setting max deck frame buffering to 0 caused nothing to appear on the screen, and setting this constraint set 3 flag made no difference to the latency. And also Was it? Let me just double check this. So. Yeah. Does this rely on max? Yeah. The value of max deck frame buffering shall be greater than or equal to max num ref frames. Okay. Okay, in that case, I'm gonna write that down as well. Probably because according to the spec, it has to be larger or greater than or equal to max num ref frames. However, which is also 1. Setting max num ref frames to 0 caused the output to be very glitchy. So seems like both of these need to be 1. Okay. All right, so I think that's okay for now. Just out of curiosity, we need to move on to audio. What's the latency of the networking interface? There could be buffering there as well. As far as I know, the latency of the network is pretty good because keep in mind I'm controlling this over the network with the with a game controller, and the latency from the controller is reasonably good. Doesn't seem to be much, if any. Whereas it's only the video that seems to have latency. I guess it'll be interesting if we can finally get audio working. It'd be interesting to try and put them side by side and see if see if the audio is noticeably later than the video, because that would imply it's still a decoding thing. Can we ping the Wii U to find out baseline latency? Yeah, we've done that before, and the ping is like basically non-existent. It's like 2 or 3 milliseconds at most. Yeah, 2.4, 3, 2.7. Yeah, so how comparable are the latency numbers anyway? I'm guessing the Wii U footage is from a capture card that might inherently have different delay. They're both the Pi and the Wii U are both going through the same capture card. Definitely somewhere in our pipeline. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Okay, that's something I want to check real quick. Is hey, Daniel, thanks for the super chat. I appreciate that. That'll come through at some point. What I would be interested in is just seeing so we already know that the time it takes for a frame to show on the screen is about 29 milliseconds, which is probably mostly down to stuff like B blank and just the decoder will take time. It's not going to be instant anyway. But something I would be interested in doing is just checking, and then we can maybe try some of these flags, these FFmpeg flags, see if these make any difference at all. Because
I'm back. I'm off again.
Hey, thanks for the super chat. So I want to see how many frames are we giving the decoder before it actually spits one out. So if I go to rpi main and then I say E again. Okay. We could probably even make this static. Num buffered equals 0. Decoder wants another frame. Currently behind. This is just like a simple test that I'm interested in trying. Ever find out the real controller's latency? I still haven't done a test, but it seems like the From everything I've read, it seems like the gamepad is somewhere between, 1 to 2 frames of latency at most. 2 would be fucking great. I would love to get. I think if we got to 2, I'd be happy, but we'll see. Hi Matt, I bought a Wii U without any gamepad for cheap. Thanks to you, I can use it. Hey, I'm glad. Are you using the desktop vanilla? Hang on, I'm waiting for the super chat to come through. Because of weird oddities in the YouTube API, the super chats are delayed by like a pretty significant margin. There it is.
You have selected Microsoft Sam as the computer's default voice.
Yes, indeed. Oh, I guess I should, no, yeah, that can't be right, because it's not like the latency increases. It's just, yeah, I suppose when we get to here, we should subtract 1. Hi Mario 64. That's just what I clicked. There's no conspiracy. I just clicked on that when I turned the Wii U on. You muted alerts? I genuinely haven't. Yeah, the seg fault at the end, I'm not sure. Okay. Fascinating. If this is correct, I think this is correct, that the decoder is still buffering 2 frames. How interesting. Okay. So let's see if I can. I'm gonna just try these flags that someone sent earlier, just to see if they make any difference at all. Who knows? Like, there's no guarantee that these things will be communicated up to the Raspberry Pi's hardware decoder, but we'll give it a try, because why not? I'm assuming we set those in flags somehow. Like, there's a flags, like, yeah, here we go. Okay. I'm gonna guess we do it here. Video codec CTX flags or equals that, and then flags 2. We'll try this. I don't know if this will. My feeling about if this helps at all is probably like 50-50. Because, like I said, I don't know if these flags get communicated up to, like, I assume these flags differ for, like, every decoder. Like, some will, like, recognize them and some won't, and I don't know if these will get passed up to the Raspberry Pi's hardware decoder, but, you know, they could be. If anything, it's we're an extra frame behind. Is that placebo? That might be a fluke. Yeah, okay, it's a fluke. I think it just didn't do anything at all. Which is about what I expected. It's they could have worked, but yeah, it depends on which flags get like passed up to the underlying implementation when it comes to like hardware decoding, you know what I mean? Worth a try anyway though. I wonder if there are any other SPS things that we can play around with. Latency, real time. Could it be the Pi 0 is just arse? I mean, sure, but also, but I also think, like, this is a distinction I think we have to make. It's not that the Pi is failing to keep up. If it was failing to keep up, we wouldn't be getting 60 FPS playback, and the latency would increase over time. It wouldn't stay constant the whole time. The fact that it's staying constant the whole time means that it's not that the Raspberry Pi is swamped. It's not that it's like, oh, we've run out of resources. It's just that it's seemingly something is feels like it needs to hold on to these frames, or something is just like. It could be that the decoder is just slow. It could just be that yeah, it could just be that it's that the decoder takes a couple frames to decode, but I suspect it's something a little bit. I suspect there's more to it than that. We've tried AV Optune zero latency. I believe zero latency is only a FFmpeg decoder command. It's not a it too wouldn't pass up to the hardware decoder. When this isn't a place you're happy with, you should make the smallest working Wii U gamepad. Yeah, we could. Why not? Using the real-time Linux kernel. I'm not convinced it's like a scheduling issue either. I think it's like when I see this, that like the what this means by like currently 2 behind is that we've given the decoder 2 packets, but it still wants another one before it's going to give us a frame. So in theory, we're at least 2 frames behind at all times. And not because, like I said, not because it's slow or because it can't keep up, just because the decoder thinks it wants another one before it can give us the current one. Only for X264? Yeah, that sounds right. So maybe the normal gamepad had a 2-frame latency. From what I can tell, the gamepad had more like a 1-frame latency, and we currently have like a 5-frame latency. Like this 2 is like is only part of the story, I think. Anyway, so I think we're going to move on from this though, because we could slam our heads against the latency wall for a long time. But I think for now I'm gonna flip on over to sound. I mean. Double buffer. Part of the latency could be the fact that we are v-blanking, that we are v-synced. Like we could. That's something. Another thing to. Like we have five frames of latency. 2 of those frames can be explained by the fact that the decoder is like buffering 2 frames for some reason. But I don't know what about the other 3. MTU bullshittery. Yeah, so this might genuinely be a fail day. I'm gonna say that from the get-go, because I don't know how to solve the problem that we're gonna try to solve. OMX buffer flag, end of frame. We're not using OMX, we're using default L2M2M, which is that MOM on the back end or something like that? Yeah, OMX is like the old API. And I'm not sure, like if there's an equivalent for the newer API, then we can try it. But as far as I know, we're not using OMX, so that wouldn't apply. Does the vanilla controller have to be a Bluetooth controller? Can I make the controller myself? There's no Bluetooth in vanilla or the Wii U gamepad. Try a TCP dump, I guess. Yeah, so to introduce you guys, if you weren't, I talked about this a little bit on the last stream, but the problem we're having with sound is this is the only time that we just don't receive any packets at all. So if I write something into, let me revert some of these changes real quick. So if I write something into here and I say, actually no, keep that comment. I just say print .audio frame. Actually, no. To really show you what I'm talking about, I'll put it in the library. got audio frame of size, payload size. Okay, so we'll build that out, send it over to the Pi. What's this? Does this have like, well, anyway, I don't know what I'm supposed to get from that. Okay, so the Wii U think that audio's turned off on the gamepad? I don't think so, because the Wii U should just send the packets. There's gonna be a time when one of these random links someone puts in chat is gonna be Rickroll. Oh, don't worry, it's already happened. So the vanilla backend or the library is receiving a bunch of audio frames of size 0. Now this is actually normal. For some reason, the Wii U incorporates like controller vibration stuff into the audio packet. So there's like other data that gets shipped along with the audio packet that's not audio, strangely enough. Now, under normal circumstances, we would be receiving audio of size 0 and audio of size like 1700, I think. Like if we try this on desktop, let's, this link has fixed for Wii U audio on Pi. I am not clicking that one. Thanks, but no thanks. Okay, so if I, meanwhile, if I plug this into the computer and we run vanilla, oh fuck, I have to run this again. I hate this. Okay. Let's go ahead and connect.